There it is. There it is. That's it. There's the answer right there to what it takes to be persons who are Christian, or persons who are persons of faith. It's right there in that little pericope, that little section of Scripture that you find before you. This is my sermon that I preach every Sunday in one form or another. It's what I want to be at the center of my ministry. It's what I want to be at the center of your ministry. Whether you feel that this is where you need to be is up to you. It is also a marker of where you might be on your own journey. We can't all be in the same place on our journeys, but we are all journeying, and we are all journeying together. And this, to me, is, if you want to hold up anything, if you want to look at any light, if you want to have that light shine on anything, and have that light on that thing that you want it shined upon to reveal something to you, this is what I would want you to have revealed. The brilliance of this is astounding to me. It's not original with the gospel writer Mark, this phrase that what is it that we're supposed to do? What are the commandments that we're supposed to follow? What is the reality of who we are? It's not original with Mark. You see it in earlier writings around this particular period of time, that you should serve God with all your heart, love God with all your heart, and your neighbor as yourself. These things are, this is the root of it. This is everything. This is how simple it is. And yet it's complicated as well, isn't it? Because if I love somebody, well, what does that mean? What does it mean to love someone? What does it mean to love God? What does that mean? We all have different understandings of what it means to love God. I understand loving God in one way. You understand loving God in your own unique way. What does that mean to you? How does it work for you? We all come to this place. We come to this room bringing with us whatever it is we bring. We all have our own stories. If I were going to put this is as far into mathematics as I would ever want to go, because I'm really lousy at mathematics, but if I put a bracket here, and in that bracket I put, various variables, A, X, Y, of characteristics, if I wanted to call that a personality matrix, I would be able to look at some of you and I would be able to identify immediately that this is a characteristic of who you are, this is a characteristic of who you are, and this is a characteristic of who you are. But there are a lot of those characteristics in your personality, your characteristic, your upbringing, your making, the person that you are. There are a lot of things that are hidden and are only revealed, they're only revealed in what I would call symptomatic behavior. And I don't mean symptomatic behavior as in pathological behavior. That's different. Pathological behavior means there's something wrong. Some of the symptoms may be pathological. Some of the stuff that I have to deal with are from injuries that I've had in my life. So they come out of a pathology. But there are pieces of this personality matrix which make up you that I cannot see and I will never be able to see. And I will never be able to understand. But in this personality matrix, this stuff that you bring to this place, this is the law of the land. What is interesting to me, of the many things that are interesting to me about this little piece of paper, this little scripture writing right here, what is interesting to me is that the writers put together from two of the great collections of Hebrew law. Two of the great collections of Hebrew law. The Levitical codes, the holiness codes. Oh, another bracket. They drew from Leviticus. I believe it's Leviticus 19:18. And then they drew from Deuteronomy, another law code. Famous, important law codes upon which was built this thing that we call the Hebraic faith, or the Judean faith, or what is now called the Jewish faith. They drew from each of those codes one line, one important piece, and they join them together. And implicit in those two things, love God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your strength, and your neighbor as yourself. Implicit in those things is that you will also have an understanding of who you are. And you will value yourself enough that you can be in a healthy relationship with the other. Whether that other is God or that other is the person sitting next to you in the pew you're sitting in right now. Oh, and that's hard. And that's really hard. And who is this that's bringing this to Jesus? Jesus is right in the middle of his passion now, in the middle of his passion story. Jesus in the Gospel of Mark has come from Galilee, from his ministry of Galilee. He's journeyed down through the Jordan Valley, probably up to down to Jericho, and turned right and gone up into Jerusalem. He has made that journey. He is now already facing the people that are going to drag him out and crucify him. He's already facing them. And among those persons who are making the case against Jesus are the scribes, the Sadducees, and the Pharisees. And one of them comes to Jesus and says this to Jesus, what about the commandments here? Which commandment is the first of all? Which commandment is the first of all? And that's a trap. It's a trap. It's yet another opportunity for individuals to say, you know, let's catch this guy Jesus. Let's get him, because he's not keeping the rules. It's a trap. And why is it a trap? Well, because all of the laws are equal. All of the laws have equal validity. You have to keep all the laws. You don't just keep the law 14, 17, and 922, if there were that many. You keep all 613. You keep them all. They all have weight. They all have identity. They all have value. You keep them all. Which is the greatest of all these? Oh. What's interesting to me is that Jesus says, oh, well, there are two that are. And here they are. And then this Pharisee, Sadducee, scribe, whoever it is that is preaching this, says, oh, well, yes, that's right. That's right. That's better than the formulaic stuff that we do. It's better than the things that we do because we're good folks. And by doing these things, we are righteous, and we are going to maintain 70 miles an hour on this freeway, whether or not there's a backup behind us. Because we are keeping the law, and keeping the law, we are righteous. And that's what it's all about. What Jesus is doing is he is imposing an ethic upon the law. He's imposing an ethic upon the law. I mean, I've got a brilliant lawyer here who will help me discuss these things, but laws have two different aspects. There is the denotative aspect. There is the written aspect of the law. There is what is written down. And then there's the connotative aspect. There is what is understood about the law, what the law is meant to address. What is this meant to address? What is it all about? What's it for? Why do we have it? Why do we need it? Laws are written because we need them. Because if we didn't have so many people doing this stuff, we wouldn't need to write a law about it, would we? Wouldn't need to stop them. If they just stopped on their own, we wouldn't need to have a law. And then everybody would be happy. But the laws are about relationships. And what the message of Jesus Christ is the ethic of the relationship. It is the moral imperative. And I often make jokes because it's an old joke, and it's to me, I just find it amusing. And that is, there's nothing more dangerous than a second lieutenant with a compass. It's mildly amusing. You all chuckle about that. But what is important is that at least the second lieutenant has a compass. And that's what the law is about, and that's what this is. This is our compass. It is the place, it is what we look at. It is what we look at when we are seeking our direction. It is what we're looking at when we want to know our orientation in the world, how we are situated in the world. For pilots, you will understand if I say it is our attitude in the world. An attitude for a pilot is not just how the wings are like this, but whether they're tilted forward or tilted back, or whether you got this kind of thing going on or that kind of thing going on. This is it, right here in this scripture. This is it. And one of the antagonists, one of the people that will eventually be a part, presumably, be a part of those individuals which will create the foment out of which Jesus is raised up onto the cross and crucified, is agreeing with the principle that Jesus is acknowledging here, or providing here. That's stunning. That is stunning. It would be as if one Republican senator and one Democratic senator agreed on something. Or vice versa. We play equally on this side of the street. It would be something as strange as that. It does not matter what color are the clothes you bring to worship. It does not matter what the uniform of understanding is that you bring to your philosophical understanding of your relationship with God and Jesus Christ. What matters is what is the center that you bring. How are you operating out of that center? It's easy to stand here 2,000 years later and criticize people who, by holding on to the law, were responsible for the crucifixion of Jesus. It's easy this many years later to do that. But many of those individuals, the Pharisees, I have told you before, have a bad rap. They were seriously interested in being in relationship with God, and their understanding of being in that relationship was keeping these laws. That was an outward and visible sign of an inward and spiritual grace. That's the way they understood it. And there are people alive right now, sitting here right now, that their understanding of the way to get on in this world is to do it by in the squares and where everything fits. And that's fine if your heart is there first. If your heart is there first. If you love, then act. Paraphrasing St. Augustine. If you love, then act. When we look at the rules, we begin to understand this whole story, the importance of this whole story of Ruth. Naomi's lost her sons. Her husband says she's lost her sons. She is now without any hope of support in the world. She is without any hope of support in the world. She is a widow who is unconnected and away from her family. She is vulnerable. And Ruth is not Jewish. She is not Jewish. And yet, she demonstrates to the Hebrew people a love which is so important that she is actually listed in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. She is listed in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Matthew, chapter 1. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people will be my people. where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. What a wonderful definition of relationship. What a wonderful definition of loving your neighbor as yourself.